there's a lot to talk about in bad movies. What are your opinions on The Room?
This was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Best worst movie?
And not because it's good, but because it's so bad. It's just absolutely amazing. Like, what's the guy's name? Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau is a brilliant man.
No, he's not.
Accidentally brilliant. Just because if you couldn't have intended to make a farce as well as he made this drama. You know what I mean? Like,
you could not have intentionally made something this funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Like, this is one of a comedic masterpiece while intending to be a drama.
Right.
It's amazing.
Do you feel bad for kind of laughing at a retarded kid? Like, when I watch this movie, I feel like getting out of there's a part of me that was like, this guy can't even speak English. Like, I don't know. Like, he didn't intend to do this, but there's also part of me that's like, looking at the people around him and are like, why did nobody stop him?
Money. You know, a paycheck. I mean, I'm sure none of these actors will ever go anywhere. And that's painfully obvious.
The only reason he has a YouTube series is because of how bad this movie is.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to take the money where they can. So they're taking, I mean, they get a paycheck, so go for it, you know?
It's off. I will say it's a blast to watch with the group.
Yeah.
We had my friend Steve over, and we had a lot of fun. Not this Steve, another Steve, and not the Steve who's always on here. A different Steve. We know other Steves. And there's a fourth Steve we haven't brought in yet, but there's another Steve. And it's just it's hilarious. It's
one of the most quotable movies that you will ever watch.
From the opening scene when he's not homeless, is he Denny or whatever?
Denny? No, he lives in the apartment
That's
building.
right. He lives in the apartment below them, but they pay his rent. When
they adopt him for some reason.
They adopted him?
They wanted to, but no, they just...
Oh, yeah, they wanted to.
Rather than adopt him, they waited for him to turn 18 and buy him an apartment.
When he just shows up, and you can't tell how to pronounce his name, because Tommy Wiseau can't speak, and so he's like, Donnie! Yeah. Yeah,
you hear Danny when he says it, but whenever anyone else says his name, it's Denny.
Yeah.
And he's like this creepy little... I mean, the guy's got to be, in real life, a serial killer.
The perfect little,
Perfect, and, the creepy
he's
smile
supposed to be
with
18,
eyes that are
but
dead.
You're like 30. Yeah.
There's no saying anywhere that he's actually playing an 18-year-old. It's just when he was 18, they bought him an apartment.
Yeah. But they treat him like a child. Yeah. And he goes up to, watch them as they're, getting it on. And, jumps in bed with them, and they're like, whatever. And they're like, oh, Denny... What does he say? He says,
two's great, but three's
a crowd. And then you get this sense when Tommy Wiseau is delivering that line that he thinks it's the freshest line ever. He's like, oh, I'm so clever for thinking of this.
He doesn't have any expressions on his face, but you get the
Poor
sense.
face has been mauled by something.
I don't know what, it looks like a mask. It's horrible. I don't know what accent he was in, but I feel sorry for him.
Life.
But you get the feeling that he thinks this entire thing is just brilliant.
He does.
And that's part of the magic of this movie.
Right.
Is that everybody's taking it so seriously.
They're giving their heart and soul to this film.
Are they? I mean, you get to some people...
Well, he is.
He is, and the other 2.5 main characters.
There's Mark.
There's Mark and Lisa, who are main characters of the plot, and then
Mark!
And then her mother and Denny each count as a quarter apiece to make 2.5 other characters, and then you get a bunch of other people who don't even count.
Chris R.
Chris R. Who's in it.
Which is one word. Yeah, that's his name. It's Chris R. That's not Chris hyphen R. Last name Chris hyphen R.
Is the guy that jumps in towards the end, who they act like he's just been a main character
this
the whole
entire time. Yeah,
it's at the last third of the movie. He's just kind of no explanation of who he is, why he's there.
Hey guys, let's all go outside. Let's all go inside.
We should talk about the awkward sex scenes.
You mean the 4 of them in the first 20 minutes of the movie?
Well, and one of them's repeated.
One's literally the same scene, the exact same sex scene again.
Mm-hmm. Just cut in a different order.
This sounds really weird, but as someone who like weekly does like editing and things like that, I was thinking to myself like, why were they so awkward? Like I kept thinking about these sex scenes, like what's so bad about them? I think these people, first off, clearly it's their first movie, so I think that they just kind of. We were even talking about with like Mark, and we were watching. We're like, he looks so out of it. He does not want to be touching this woman. He does not want to be doing anything to her. I'm pretty sure that they weren't actually, like, they're both probably felt like it was pretty weird, like, all of them. And so they weren't actually, like, on top of each other. I kind of got the sense they were, like, next to each other, like, going up and down. Yeah. Just kind of with, like, an arm over, which just
there's one point where
looks
it is,
bizarre.
Like, it literally looks like he's having sex with her armpit.
Yeah.
Because they're so, like, trying not to touch each other. It's so awkward.
Ooh, armpit. Yeah.
It's just like... Yeah.
One thing I loved about what made me love this movie was I saw this on television the first time I watched this.
Did they edit the sex scenes out?
They edited over the sex scenes. They left them in audio, but what they did was they had essentially a little screensaver of a square of the entire scene that was going around the screen. It was just bouncing, and I was like, that is brilliant. I mean, you leave this in, and then...
And the sound is off, too. When you actually watch the sex scene, they don't be moving, you just hear around at random, like, oh! Oh! And you're like,
who's playing?
What is going on? Yeah, coming from... And literally think that he just, like, typed in, like, porn noises, and then just, like, goes, yeah, I put this into movie. Yeah. It's so bizarre.
He sounds like an uneducated Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm. He does.
The Room or The Net, starring Sandra Bullock?
So we're already at crap. Doesn't take long. This was like... Sandra Bullock has in recent years been like, hey, I'm a good actress. Yeah. She's been like pushing people around because she used to make stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then she still makes stuff like Miss Congeniality 2, Armed and Fabulous.
That was like 5 years ago.
But she made that one, the comedy just last year.
Oh, yeah, that was considered like the worst of the year.
Yeah.
All About Steve.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, she's really hit and miss. Like, she can be brilliant, but she can't be brilliant by herself.
I think she's kind of like a Luis Guzman, that almost any script that's handed to her.
Yeah.
You know, she takes it and runs. You know.
And luckily for her... They offer her good roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Net, I remember watching The Net when I was pretty young. It was one of these, like... My family and my dad is really into, like, Tom Clancy, kind of, like, classic thrillers and stuff like that. And he kind of, like, and my mom is really into Lifetime movies. And The Net is kind of like a combination of the two. It really is.
Yeah.
It's the Tom Clancy thriller, it's like if Tom Clancy made a Lifetime movie.
I don't remember much of The Net aside from the fact that I don't like it all that much.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like really like
high tech
because she like orders pizza online and people are like, oh, that's amazing, and now that's literally just like that's the only way I order pizza. Like
I don't know how to order pizza any other way. I remember watching this movie, and this is one of those movies that inspired me to write the current series of articles for the Rampad, where I'm watching it and being like, you can't do that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You can't do that. And so this movie made me angry, although it was one of the first technology movies. So I remember being really excited about it beforehand. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah.
But The Room is worse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Much. I mean,
it's much worse.
That's how we evaluate it.
It's tough because I can't really think of anything redeeming to The Net. But
the acting is better.
The acting is better. And part of it's just like it has Sandra Bullock.
The production value is better, just in general.
Which
acting, the directing, everything about it is better.
And I remember,
but it's not as enjoyable.
Right, but The Net was not so atrocious.
Yeah.
That I walked away from it saying this. It was one of those kind of movies that you walked away and you had like these annoying that was stupid.
Yeah.
but not so stupid that I hated it to its very core. And I don't hate The Room to its very core. I love it.
But you can't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's because you can't hate retarded children.
Yeah,
which is why you can't hate The Room.
I'm sorry if that tears any of you apart. Lisa.
You're tearing me apart, Nate. You're tearing me.
Curses.
Damn you, Nate! You're tearing me apart!